It's blinking on my
Okay,
end. So
it is now. It is now. Okay, go to first of all, go down to the bottom to the where it says the Apsel timeline. Down. Okay. Okay, maybe. Okay, you don't have that on your shelf.
nope.
Okay, I sent it to you. Apparently, we missed that.
Yeah. You sent it via email?
Yeah, that was early on. Early on. I'll resend that. Just disregard that then. Just
All right.
disregard that. Okay, we will.
We'll look at that later then.
Okay, Dr. Lamb, remind them the difference between discussion board and assignment Dropbox.
All right. When you go to your Blackboard shell for your class, assignment Dropbox is once you have completely finished. It's been peer reviewed. It's done.
And it's going to list the things that need to go in assignment Dropbox when you click on that.
Right. All right. So let's look at this is things that are assignments that are going to get graded. Your contact information, your week 2 philosophy of education. I read 2 of those today. They're very good. Your conference links for AppSell Task 1 when you send out your Zoom links. Your AppTel final grade screenshot. Your AppSell final grade screenshot, that comes from TaskStream. So that's not, we're not ready for that yet. Conference link for AppSell Task 4, case studies 1 and 2, Zoom links 3 and 4, 5 and 6, conference link for AppTel. All these are, when you have done these things, you have to come in here so that we know that you did them and you drop them. This is the final grade. Now, AppSell Task 1 peer review, you have to put 2 of those. This is not your work. This is where you peer reviewed other people's work in your group. You have to put in 2. You reviewed 2 of your peers' work. Task 1, 2 for Task 2, 2 for Task 3, 2 for Task 4, and then we don't review Task 5 of the AppSell. And then the same process for the AppTel.
And Dr. Lamb,
I'm
going to tell them when they're supposed to do this, and I'm going to tell them where to put it. So pay close attention when I say assignment Dropbox, or if it's discussion board, or if it's in the specifically, you'll look to the side and make sure you put it in the place that I tell you to put it in. And that's all on that, Dr. Lamb. And one more thing, the O10 group, because we lost a few students out of that group, there had to be some adjustments to your Zoom team. So please make sure you look at that. It only affected a couple of people because there were only 2 left. And I think, Dr. Lamb, you were going to look at the OA group and have to make some adjustments as well there.
Okay.
Okay, that's all right now I needed to talk about.
All right. And I put you a little, for AppSell Task 1 peer review, I put you a little reminder there that says, not your work. This is where you upload your review of a team member's work. So that's what goes in assignment Dropbox. Now, in discussion board, what you upload in discussion board is your work. You upload your work under AppSell Task 1 draft. You upload your work so folks can go in and get it and review it. That's where you also go and get your team members' work. Once they posted it there, then you review it for them and post it back here so that they can see what you said. And then you post 2 of those in assignment Dropbox for your grade for having done the peer review of their work. Now, it's very important to get this point. This is where you post your work for review. It's where you go to get your team members' work for review. And this is where you post your review of their work on that same thread so that they can get their review back. Now, we want you to do it in this area here so we can watch what's going on. and you say, well, I don't know if I want everybody to see my work. You have to, sorry, you just got to get over it. This is a collaborative process. Everybody sees everybody's work. We peer review work, and folks see the reviews. And so, that's what this area is for collaborative work environment. It also allows us to monitor what's going on with review, how often, how good, and keeps us informed of what you're doing.
And Dr. Lamb, they need to know this weekend when they submit the APSL Task 1 for review and discussion board, that when next week, when they have to submit it for the final review for me, they're going to put it right back in discussion board, and I'm going to tell them in discussion board when it's ready to go to be finally submitted.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can put things in discussion board as many times as we need to.
Yeah. I've made attempts unlimited in discussion board. You can go in and use it as many times as you need to. All right. So that's how that works, and we're trying to get you to understand how to collaborate virtually. That's going to be a needed skill going forward in our business. Many of you may find it easier as you go through this program and this process that your actual PLCs that you do at your job site, they may become virtual at some point. So, that's part of the reason why we're doing what we're doing as well. Is we're having you to learn and demonstrate how to collaborate virtually. All right. Questions about discussion board, about the difference between discussion board and assignment Dropbox? All right.
Dr. Lamb, you may have to mute everything. I don't know. I can.
It's tough to keep resolutions, especially. With an additional 20% off select methods through January 30th.
Okay, I've done that. Can y'all hear me? Dr. Stedman, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yep, I just unmuted you.
Okay, yes, I can hear you.
All right. All right. All right, so.
But I can't see anything.
Okay, I'm going to share screen right now. I'm going to that. All right. There it is. Always the last place you look. All right, we're back where we started at tonight. I want to talk to you more specifically tonight about the AppSell Task 1, where you do your research on PLCs, you select the people at your school who are going to be on your PLC, and then you conduct your first PLC meeting. Now, under week 2, in all of the 601 shells, under week 2, I have added 3 documents to kind of get you started on this. The first that will guide your research, and you can add to this research, but the first document that I want you to look at, again, these are under week 2, is Richard DeFore's What is a Professional Learning Community? And what DeFore does is tells you basically what you're doing here in this task is that you're setting up a PLC, and this goes through it in terms of what it is, the big idea. The big idea of a PLC is ensuring students learn. It speaks to all of those things, the big ideas, a culture of collaboration. That's what I was referring to. We can't have you collaborate face to face as a class, but we're teaching you a culture of collaboration. We're doing it virtually in this class. Some of you will do it face-to-face in your schools with your PLCs, but some of you will have to conduct your PLC meetings at your schools virtually because you may not have common planning time. But the idea here is, idea number one is it's about student learning, and number two, it's a culture of collaboration. We're trying to model that, or get you to begin to model that in this class, that you need to collaborate with your team members. So basically, but by putting your Zoom teams together, we have formed little mini PLCs out of you as an exemplar of how this should work. And so for your Zoom group, you should use these same techniques and practices and fundamentals that you're using in your PLC. You should be modeling those in your Zoom groups as well. It's a culture of collaboration. A focus on results. It's all about outcomes. Why did I tell you you have to look at your standardized test scores, the ones that come out on the report card? Because that's the ones that matter. That's the results that where you make bonus or don't make bonus, get fired or keep your job. It's based on results. Effort's not effort. Is not what we want. Effort, but that's not what's measured here. It's outcomes. PLCs understand that only outcomes matter, only the results. You are only successful if you move the needle on those standardized scores. Given that the good old college try is not enough in this business. You've got to be able, if you're going to be a leader, you got to be able to move the needle. And so if you work through this document, you'll get a good idea of what we're trying to get you to understand about PLCs. Now, before you start selecting your members, there's a document here called PLC Norms that I uploaded as well. PLC norms represent protocols and commitments developed by each team to guide members in working together. It helps members clarify expectations regarding how they will work together and achieve their shared goals. And these are good tips for you. You don't have to do SMART goals, but we're not. But this is an excellent. Here's like a sample meeting record, those kinds of things. The big thing is to establish norms for your group. We're going to meet at this time. You can't be late. You have to have your assignment that we gave you last time. You have to be polite. You have to be on time. You can't be 15 minutes late. You should establish those same norms in your Zoom groups. But this will tell you how you go about running a PLC. And then the last one that I won't spend too much time on is the charge session. And this is more for administrators, and that's what we want you to be. And it's kind of a bulleted everything that you should know about PLCs, characteristics of them, the power of PLCs, transforming schools, collaboration, fundamental assumptions, highly effective teams, focus again on collaboration. And so if you will spend some time with these three documents, I think you will understand what we're asking you to do. These three documents plus a couple more should make up your PLC research. There's some newer ones than these, but these are kind of the holy grail. This is what started the whole PLC movement. There's been some more modern stuff, but this is what we're talking about when we talk about PLC research, that you know how to set one up, how to run one, agendas, minutes, why you select the participants for your teams, what their qualifications are. That's what we're looking for. On PLC selection, I know some of you are assuming or inheriting groups that are already formed. If that's the case and you're taking a leadership role, I can live with that. I had a couple of emails today about we have this one and I can take the leadership in it. That's fine. But tell us what the qualifications are in the selection section of your paper, of your evidence narrative. Tell us what the people's qualifications are. Don't just tell us, well, it's a guidance counselor. Well, I need to know more than the guidance counselor, what this person's qualifications are. And that should do that. So, with that said, back to the scale handbook. So that should cover your PLC research. Again, your selection, you should select people based on their characteristics, not their locality or their handiness or that they're nearby. There should be a reason why you have them on your PLC. And then you lead your, we want to see your norms and your values. You speak to those, your minutes, your agenda, your minutes. We want to know that you actually led that meeting. And so that's what prompt one looks like, or prompt one and the associated pieces of it look like. Now, moving quickly on, some of you, I've already had some task ones already turned in. I got one last night that was absolutely wonderful. Some folks are already looking at task 2. Candidates will describe an evidence data collection strategies and criteria in the process of identifying the most pressing need. Your most pressing need doesn't need to be too broad. The candidate will lead a collaborative meeting where data is analyzed and discussed, concluding with agreement and a specific need. Let me see. Dr. Hamilton, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Dr. Hamilton's with us tonight. Dr. Hamilton, will you talk about EVOS? Dr. Hamilton is our resident EVOS expert. Would you speak to EVOS for a couple of minutes in terms of if folks want to use that data, how they would go about using EVOS data and what it is and how you'd go about using it here when you're looking for your most pressing need?
Yeah, and I'm assuming most of our students are from North Carolina, but even those that are not from North Carolina, other states will have a system similar to EVOS. It may not be called that. I know in Tennessee it's called TVOS and so forth. But EVOS is a value-added measurement system that primarily deals with student growth. The system itself, in terms of its reports in schools, does refer to achievement, but it is primarily about growth. So if you're in a North Carolina school or a school that has value-added assessment and you're wanting to do that, make sure you understand how growth is calculated so that whatever you set up with it is going to be appropriate. Now, unfortunately, I say this, and it's very unfortunate, but in some cases, if you learn a little bit about EVOS, you might know more than anybody else in your building. I do a lot of work with schools on EVOS, and sometimes we have people there that don't know a whole lot about it. So I suggest to you that if you're going to use it, you may want to reach out to me. I know there's, I think Dr. Lamb's got a video available a little bit that talks a little bit about EVOS. But EVOS is about growth, whereas a lot of schools focus on the achievement level. But growth has to do with what happens between August and June. Achievement level is most closely associated with socioeconomic. So make sure you understand what you're dealing with. So do you have anything else, Dr. Lamb, you'd like me to mention about EVOS?
When I talk to students about, I want you to use standardized data, I had a couple questions. Students said, well, what about EVOS data? Is that standardized? Yeah, absolutely it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not just, EOC and EOG scores and state testing, report card stuff, but also, again, all states have some sort of value-added testing And that is absolutely a valid usage of that data as well. So the question was, well, this is not on our state report card, but it's still a form of standardized testing. And so EVOS would be, or value-added testing would be acceptable to use for data analysis to determine what your most pressing need is.
And I will mention one thing it does too. It will indicate how the students are growing compared to other students in the state and with other schools within the district. If you're looking for comparable growth data with the state and with other districts and other schools, then that would be appropriate to use. But just depends on what you're looking for and what you want to use.
So it's so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for state testing data, something that's been standardized, that matters to your school. As we move more and more into the growth area accountability in all states, value-added testing is going to push out some of the other standardized state testing, and our report cards are eventually going to be more based on value-added testing than comparative accountability that we're currently in now. So if your school, you know, especially in the more urban areas like the Triangle, a lot of our students in that area, that's the biggest thing. They, as they say, we don't pay much attention to state testing. We're all about EVOS. We're about value added, and that's fine. If your school is into value added, that's fine. I don't want you to back up and come back to comparative accountability, EOC and EOG, or into course tests or in state tests in South Carolina. I don't want you to back up. If your school has kind of transcended and moved into value added testing, that is fine. You know, whatever is most relevant, most important in your school is what we want you to be looking at, and that varies from school to school, district to district. What's important in that school. But we want you to find, you know, ask people, you know, what really matters in this school, and that's what we want you to be looking at in terms of the data that you select to start to initiate the process. Because your most pressing need is going to come out of the data that you look at. So you got to be looking at the right data. Your most pressing need is where you feel that your school needs to improve the most. It may be between subgroups. It may be in subject matter areas. It may be between grade levels. You know, there's not one formula. I was asked, you know, what is the formula for determining the most pressing need? There isn't one. It could be between grade. You just have to look at your data. What jumps off the page, you say, wow, that looks bad. That's your most pressing need. If you're looking at the most important data for your school, and you see something, you know, like third grade scores are 58 and fourth grade scores are 38, oh my goodness. There's might be something that we need to explore. So that's what we're asking you to do. We can't give you a preconceived notion. There is no template about, well, this is how you determine your most pressing need. You look at this particular set of scores and apply this particular standard. No. What data is important at your school? And then what jumps off the page when you look at that data? What jumps off the page at you? That's how you determine your most pressing need. It is not a formula. You'll lead a collaborative meeting where data is analyzed and discussed, including with agreement on a specific need. Don't take on too much. We have one student who's doing a great job, by the way, said, you know, reading and math. Well, that's kind of big. Reading and math, all grade levels, that's kind of big. You might want to get a little more specific. You might want to hone in a little bit more on that. I appreciate that, you know, your ambition, but in real terms, you know, part of SMART goals is that they're attainable, it's doable, it's achievable, it's realistic. I mean, that's, you know, we could use the acronym of SMART there: specific, measurable, attainable, achievable. That's what we're talking about. We're don't get too big, and don't get so small that you're only talking about 3 or 4 students either. So, what would be of value to your school if you could address it? What would be of value to your school? And then data is graphically represented in the narrative in forms of charts, tables, and graphs. Which we all know in APA format, charts, tables, and graphs are referred to as figures, and they should be labeled that way. These visuals are be used to illustrate and support the data analysis and conclusions. Now, sometimes sometimes that stuff comes ready-made, where it's just, here's a snapshot of data that's already been created for you, and that when you do your analysis, you're like, wow, that shows the picture right there. That chart, table, or graph shows the picture right there. And sometimes you may have to create a graphic to visually display the data that shows the gap or the number differential. You can do it in a pie chart, a bar graph, whatever, but we should be able to visually, without having to read, we should be able to visually say, wow, I see why they found that gap. That was easy, and that most pressing need. That was easy to see. It should be a visual that without any narrative around it, I should be able to look at that and say, oh, I see now why they picked that one. That's what we're looking for. It should be that obvious to us when we look at your visual that, oh yeah, that was their most pressing need. If you have to explain or argue that it's your most pressing need, maybe it's not. You need a visual that displays that. Okay, and then we move into task 3 quickly. You'll create an annotated bibliography. Now, what is that bibliography of? It's of fixes, programs, treatments that address that most pressing need. Your kids can't, your kids are having trouble with fluency in reading. Phonics is is the most likely suspect to try to address that problem. Now, phonics does not phonics does not address comprehension, but it's wonderful for fluency. And if you identify that fluency is your most pressing need in reading, I mean, you kind of dug down deeper into your data. You data mined a little bit deeper, and it's not just a problem with your reading scores. More specifically, it's a problem with reading fluency. And this happens many times when you don't have native speakers or in classes. Then phonics would be your answer. So your annotated bibliography would be about studies or programs or treatments or fixes where people had instituted phonics and saw gains in their reading fluency scores. That's just an example. But what we're looking for here is for you to find research, again, that library tab in Blackboard, using that library tab in Blackboard, that you do some research on what will fix the problem that you have. Here's a study that says do this. Here's a study that said we did that and we got these gains. We're evidence-based strategies is what we're looking for. I think this ought to work, or somebody over there said, try this. No, we want evidence-based research strategies where you employ evidence-based strategies to address your need, things that have worked for somebody else. That's what we're not looking to reinvent the wheel or create a whole new program here. We're looking for you to go out and research when people had this similar problem, what did they do that worked? That's what your annotated bibliography is about. It's not about a PLC. This is about what are we going to do to fix this problem. We've got low math scores in Algebra 1, 9th grade. Here's some on problem-based learning where they instituted that in Algebra 1 classes and students did better. Here's some research that said Hawaiian algebra works best for that, which is just Algebra 1A and 1B, by the way. Here's our problem. Let's go research that problem, see what other people did. And then you will detail how your PLC created and use multiple graphic organizers and visuals, embed them in the narrative, demonstrate how the PLC projects that the chosen best strategy might be applicable to the need. That's pretty self-explanatory there. And then we move on to task 4, where you basically write out your action plan. And these are all sections in your plan. And then I like for you to use a graphic organizer to summarize your plan. I have one when we get to that point that I will introduce to you you write it out using this format. And then if you look in our template, you will already see that I have that graphic organizer there already for you, where you would summarize that. It's a quick who, what, where, when, and why. But you got to write it out here first. So those are the tasks. Those are the actual tasks of the app cell. Now, task number 5 is you simply tell us in a narrative, by doing the work that you've done, how you address the required 8 competencies that are the required 8 competencies that were highlighted earlier, and then 4 more of your choosing. So you should right here minimum 12 of the competency areas, 8 that are highlighted, and that's earlier in the book here. We'll go back and look at those, and then 4 that you choose. And so by doing the app cell, these are the competencies that you should be able to tell us that you achieved by doing this. And let me go back. Right there they are. This is the 8 that you have to address, and then you pick 4 more of your choosing that you think that you addressed. And in one paragraph, you need to tell us how you achieved that competency by doing the work that you did in those first 4 tasks. Task 5 is just kind of a summation or a reflection of, by doing the first 4 tasks, I achieved this competency by doing this thing. 1 paragraph each for those 8, and you get to pick 4 more from the list of 21 that you think that you did, that you met by doing the app cell, the first 4 tasks of the app cell. I went 1 minute over. You talk too much, Dr. Hamilton. All right, Dr. Stedman.
No, this is your night. I spent a lot of time with them Tuesday night. They don't need to hear any more from me.
That's why I promised them. They complained so much. I promised them I don't do 30 minutes.
No, you don't, and they're not going to throw me under the bus. I promise you that. We had a good session Tuesday night.
I promised them I wouldn't do but 30 minutes after you beat them down on Tuesday night. You only left me 30 minutes tonight. All right.
Okay.
Again, look at the app cell template. It will guide you. Look at the 3 documents that I posted under week 2. Let me show you that. New share, go back to the desktop, share screen, get out of that. I'm guessing you can see my Blackboard screen now. So if you click on week 2 on any of the shells, any of them, you will see those 3 documents that I talked about tonight. And that's to kind of prime the pump and get you started on your PLC research. Now, everybody knows where the library tab is, right up here at the top, next to My Gardener Web, where you go in to get your courses. There's a library tab. Use that tab to do your research. When you're doing your PLC research, or when you're doing your research for your annotated bibliography in task 3. You use that tab right there, library.
And Dr. Lamb, this session will also be placed under week 2 when it's uploaded.
That's correct. You've got your video from Dr. Stedman on Tuesday night. You'll have the video from all of us tonight. It will be right here as well under week 2. All right. Anybody have anything for the good of the group before we go? Dr. Stedman, I need to add a student. He called me. He just got added, and I didn't inform you in time. I didn't know that he was. We'll need to get him on the email list as well. I don't know whose class he got put in. I'll try to figure that out here just in a few minutes, and I'll call you.
Okay. That
All
sounds
right. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Dr. Hamilton, thank you for your time.
good. See you, Dr. Hamilton.
See you,
All
Dr.
right.
Stedman. Y'all have a good evening.
Okay.
Thank you too. I got one quick question before we go. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Okay. You gonna turn it back to me, Dr. Lamb, so I can record it?
I think I've